Thanks, Niels, for introducing yourself. One thing that you didn't remark on that I think is important is that also at the University of Copenhagen you do a lot of work on stimulating PPPs, that is public-private partnerships, and I think that we as a project are a public-private partnership, and I think that's really important that you bring expertise about that to the project and help us through that really important part of the project as well. So going back to our three guests, and thank you all for agreeing to come up, we want this to be a dialogue between you all and them as well. But we wanted to give you some real life experience of sort of what students are living through and what students have to dedicate in order to do the course. And we thought the best way to do that would be to speak directly with some of the students. In my life as a patient advocate, we always try to underline the importance of real life experience, and so we'd like to give that opportunity to three students here. For people from the audience, also students as well as others, to give input as well. We're really looking forward to that. But I prepared 4 questions, which we talked about last Friday on the telephone, so they're all somewhat prepared for the questions. But I would just like to ask each of you individually. The first 2, they sort of go hand in hand. Why did you sign up to this course? And what were your expectations from it? So if maybe we could just go down the road, Dimitri, and then, or you want to start with Sharon? Yes, of course. Yes, I'm very sorry. Sharon, let's begin. You're on the spotlight right now. Why did you sign up, and what were your hopes from it?
I suppose I signed up to the course in ignorance, to be honest. I was waiting to know what was next on my journey. My daughter had rare leukodystrophy and she passed away, and usually I would wait for again what I call Victoria magic. So I was waiting, and up into my inbox popped an email to say about EUPATI. So I thought, why not, to be honest. So that's why I started the course. So that's what led me here, Victoria Magic.
And did you have specific goals or ideas or things you wanted to get out of that course? Was it just the description itself?
It was a general knowledge, because again it was naivety on my behalf. Whenever my child was sick, the whole process, the whole medical interaction, well, I found the patient perspective was lacking. So in lots of ways, I suppose Victoria showed gaps. So I was keen to know more and educate myself. So I suppose it came from that. And then I was also conscious that there were lots of parents out there that really needed less medical jargon and more concrete interaction with people who had the means to make their lives better. So I suppose that's where I sort of came from. So it was that was really it. So my expectations were that I suppose that I would learn more. I didn't quite realize that it would be what it is. But it's great, yes.
I'm sure you meant that in a good way, yes? Peter, so what was the reason why you signed up, and what were you hoping to get out of it, and if you're doing that?
I actually decided to do that. Well, I got kind of, it was kind of offered to a group I was already working with in Europe in childhood cancer as a representative for Childhood Cancer Switzerland. And so we were already involved in several clinical research projects, and I realized there what the potential is of this collaboration between researchers and parents and patients. But I also, of course, saw like the requirements and what you need to know. So when I saw that, I thought that's really a good thing, because I myself felt like I need more information, how all this process is going, like also some basic medical, pharmaceutical information. And when I saw that, and I mean, we discussed that in that group, in this kind of European board I'm a member, and we said, you know, we need that, and we want to go on with that. So that was actually the reason. And yeah, because of these positive experiences, actually. And I was hoping then also that I was already participating in the Aurora discourse 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I was checking when we prepared for today, I was checking actually my motivation letter that I wrote for, getting into it. And it was really interesting, because I saw like one of the points that I was now not really aware of was at that time that I really wanted to see how other patient groups work together with industry and academia, because this is something I really got out of the Aurora discourse already, and I think that's really a big resource you can learn of, and of course also like good knowledge of basics of medicine and R&D, and what I really felt, what I personally needed to be able of and to learn is really to critically review like research projects, because I find it actually quite demanding when you're there as a, let's say, natural scientist layperson and as a patient representative, and these were like my goals when I entered it or applied for it.
Great, thank you very much. And Dimitri, what were your objectives or ideas when you signed on the dotted line, so to speak, to do this course?
Basically, I have to say that my motives were very egoistic and very personal, because I have also a son with a rare disease, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So the first time that I was involved in Eurordis summer school, I found out about the EUPATI, and it was obvious that when you have naive patients, usually the naive patients are the ones that die first. So we have to be very intelligent, very well trained, and very well informed in what we need to do in order to protect our loved ones and ourselves. I believe that EUPATI was a unique opportunity to train ourselves, so I volunteered for that. I felt that there is a completely different ecosystem beyond our naive world that we lived before, and we have to be very well educated in this ecosystem to find out where are the interests of everybody else, how we can work together for a common goal. And I believe that all the stakeholders are also having this common goal with maybe different results, but definitely a common goal. And that's how I got involved in this. And surprisingly, I get what I seeked, let's say, in the course, because I'm also, as a personality, I'm a little skeptical, but I do find what I'm looking for. There is a lot of information. We can use this information, and also there are a lot of fantastic people involved. The rest of the trainees, the rest of the stakeholders, everybody that you are here, we can exchange, we learn from each other, and I think we are moving fast ahead. And we need to move a little faster, I think. So that's about it.
Beautiful, thank you very much. Are there any students from the audience that have stories or an idea that they want to share about why you signed up and what your objectives or hopes were from the course? Anyone like to share? I just don't want to leave anyone out if someone would like to say something. Laura, is there a mic that we can pass around?
There are the standing ones.
Okay, sorry. There's a standing one here.
Hello everybody, my name is Noreen O'Neill and I'm also on the EUPATI Expert Training Project. I'm one of the lucky patients. I was on an AML clinical trial 10 years ago. I had a rare form of leukemia that affects 1 in a million people in Europe, acute promyelocytic leukemia. So I joined the project primarily because when I've been speaking at conferences recently, I've been celebrating excellence in medicines research and development because I've been cured from leukemia, and I'd just like to thank EUPATI for the opportunity to join the course and to train as an expert patient in medicines research and development, and hopefully can make a contribution at European level going forward. Thank you.
Thanks a million. Thank you. So our next question, now that we're about halfway through the first course, we've done the first face-to-face, and here we are a little more than 6 months in. Do you feel, the question is around, do you feel that what you are learning will be useful or helpful when you go back home, sort of on a national level? Will you find a place, will you be able to use this information that we're offering to you? Let's start with Peter first, just so I don't always put you on the spot first. Sharon, I'm sorry. Peter.
Sure, yeah, definitely, it is helpful. I mean, just like, as I said, the basic information, but also like the whole process. And now in my situation, and I talked about that with several people from the EUPATI team, in my situation coming from Switzerland, I think I need some more information, or, you know, like future students, trainees in the EUPATI program will need further information, how legislation, regulatory affairs are in Switzerland, because it is different than like just from the EMA processes. So I think this is needed. There I feel like I need more information. Then like many other things and information that we got is definitely useful. For me, like the whole EUPATI project was always more than just this course. So it was really about patient involvement. And for this, I think that's what I realized during the course. You know, it's still, I don't know if it's a long way to go, but certainly it is a way to go. Also in Switzerland, you know, we need to motivate stakeholders, partners, we need to build partnerships. And this is going to take some time, at least. And for that reason, I think it's very important that we have also like a long-term vision of EUPATI and of patient involvement. And I think we need to secure a sustainability of what we are doing, because what has already been done is incredible. And it's a great basis to go on from here.
But I do understand that Switzerland is one of the countries that does have a national team in place somewhat already, yes?
Yeah.
So that's a good base from which to start, no, on a national level?
This is a very good base, but you know, now I have 2 Swiss colleagues, Cordula and Cecilia, who are very involved and working hard also on all that. I just had like several talks like with researchers, and I think, you know, like we also, I have to say that I think we also have to maybe change a little bit the mindset of some people and groups and authorities, you know, because I think like just the idea of patient involvement is not really there, or the use or what like the added value can be is not easy to grasp for a lot of people, and we know and we need their, let's say, their consent or their partnership, and I think that's what we need to work on.
Great, okay. Dimitri.
As of course with the national team.
Yes. No, but those are serious issues that we have to confront in every single of the 12 countries and beyond in the project, absolutely. Patient validity. Dimitri, what?
I think that in Greece it's a little more challenging because, first of all, we don't have the, let's say, the backup of a national liaison team or a platform, so we're building it from scratch. Although it does take us a little more time because we have to be sustainable from the start. Since we don't belong, let's say, to the core of the 12 countries, we are planning on sustainability from day one. So we try to handpick the willing in order to move forward, and the ones that have more open minds. In the case of the industry, we have some partners that are willing to participate, and of course we're going to use also with good term use the international partners of this of the industry in order to provide us with the willing and the more open-minded participants. At the same time, in a level of regulators, I think we have a common understanding. We have, like everybody, I guess, some problems with HTAs and how patient involvement is, it is, let's say, acceptable because then you have to sometimes justify your decisions when you have your patient representatives on the other side of the table. So, but we're working on this. I think it will take us a little more time. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to be pretty sustainable, taking into consideration, like Ireland, you know, what is the crisis means to the health budgets and the health systems in our countries. But this makes it even more important.
But going back a little bit to what I originally asked was how what you're learning in this course can inform you and help you on a national level. Do you see it just the information being a tool that you'll be able to apply somehow?
The information are very important, let's say, to work on the national level, because we can work on the grassroots and pass the information and train other people and train trainers, because this is the system that we work, at least, because we don't have endless resources. So we're using volunteers as trainers, and this is the general concept. But although we have to look locally, I think we have to act internationally, because the game changes from London, from EMA, or from other HTAs and other players. So yes, we have to be focused and train the local patients, but we have to inform them, and this is a topic that I want to mention, that EUPATI has to have updated information, because things are changing very fast, and patient representatives need this information before everybody else. So we have to work harder on the updated information before it reaches to our national level. We have to have an insight what's changing, so we can prepare ourselves.
And not only updating, I think that adaptation in general, I think things will change possibly
Obviously.
country to country. For example, in Switzerland won't be the same as in other places for lots of issues. So, of course, information will have to be adapted locally, so to speak. So, Cher.
I think I'd rather going first. Sorry. I think you want to know what we will bring back to the national. Well, I don't know. I suppose the first thing you learn is that you don't volunteer for things, because then things like this happen. So that's the first thing you bring back. I suppose as well, for me personally, this is all a bit of a minefield. I feel like you're told that there is the promised land on the other side of this big field that is where there are a whole pile of buried mines, and you're told you're going to be get your way from here to there. For a patient representative, you're very cautious about what you say it, how you engage. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to annoy people. You want to be somebody that can represent your I'm mainly self-appointed, so you're representing a group of patients and parents who are grieving, who are in a terrible place. You're very cautious that you do the best for them, that you do the best for your child's memory. So it's a very difficult question. I think I shouldn't speak for everyone on the EUPATI course, but I think it is very difficult for us to all know how we're going to make a difference. I suppose that's why we all joined EUPATI, in that we were hoping that we would be pointed in the right direction, I suppose, to use this information, and that when we put ourselves forward and put ourselves sitting here, that people would realize that we were here and find ways to engage with us in a meaningful way, and not just use us to tick a box in a way of getting some kind of funding, or that we would not just be an exercise, that we would be engaged in a meaningful way. So in answer to your question, I don't know, help.
No, but I think that's really important, that we don't want to simply tick a box. The idea is not to simply do the job, finish the 5 years, and all go home. We want actually to be able to implement this this stuff, these things that we're creating. And in order to do that, we really have to think on a national level how to make that implementable and sustainable as well.
I mean, I think we as patients can do only so much. I think, you know, I think us putting ourselves out here in a mostly a voluntary capacity, you know, we can only do so much. We have to have respect and, I suppose, engagement from industry to help us too. I mean, there's quite a considerable amount of study time, and it is quite an intensive experience. I mean, for a patient representative. So I think, although we don't want our hands held, I think we do need a certain engagement. EUPATI has been fabulous to us. I don't mean EUPATI. I mean on a national level. I think people have to come to meet us as well as us. I think as well for me, you have to be aware of what questions to ask to get the right answers, and that can be very tiring. So I think just because we don't ask the right questions, I think people should come to meet us too.
So, asking the right questions. Other people from the course who are sitting out there, do you feel that you will be able to, now that you're also halfway through, that you're learning things that you'll be able to implement or bring back home and work with on a national level? Or is what you're learning useful to you as a patient advocate? Other people from the audience, please come.
Morning. I'm Carol Hagan, and I'm a parent of a young adult with a complex, rare genetic condition. You start the course not really knowing, like I think Sharon is expressing, kind of what you've taken on. But halfway through the course, and looking at myself in Barcelona, I suddenly realize I'm part of this huge thing. You know, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And I'm developing a vocabulary, I'm developing understanding and confidence. And what I'm going to be doing this week, which probably I wouldn't have done before, I'm going to be filling in an online consultation form. NHS England is seeking contributions from the public about where their priorities should be for 2015 and 16. And that's certainly something I wouldn't have considered before in contributing to. But I've got the vocabulary, I think, and the confidence to make some meaningful suggestions, because I think it's great there's a national platform in England, but I don't think we have a level playing field depending on where you live in England and what your child's condition might be and access to drugs, etc., etc. So the course is fantastic, and I feel that I'm really, really growing in my knowledge and understanding.
No, and I share that the geographical problem. I know in Spain it's a very similar thing where 90% of the work seems to be in Madrid right now, and we have a whole other country out there that we have to get to, and that's another big question for us. Please.
Okay, I'm Alwyn Rowlands. I'm down from the UK, but I'm from Wales, really. I'm a member of the Involving People Network, and what I took and still taking from the course is a vast fund of knowledge. Sometimes a bit too much, but everything is relevant. In Wales, some of you may not know, but health and social care are devolved to the Welsh Government. And in Wales, we're about to launch a Health-Wise Wales scheme, where members of the public and patients will be invited to become research people who will take part in research, who will provide details on themselves and provide information, so that there will be a fund of people available to provide research. What I take from the course is the knowledge that I've gained, and also to pass that on into the Health-Wise Wales project. Thanks.
Thanks very much. If I could ask maybe one of the I was looking at you, Pedro. So please go on up and say something. Pedro's from Portugal.
My name is Pedro. I came from Portugal, and besides all the information and the knowledge that we get from the training, one of the things that I think it's very important is the constitution of the network. And these first 12 countries that are going to have their platforms, because, as it has been said before, there is an issue about the involvement of patients in research, an issue related to mentalities. And in some countries, as I believe in my country, it will be one of the countries that will be much more difficult to implement this kind of mentality than it is, for instance, in Great United Kingdom. So the way that the existence of EUPATI will allow us to have some comparison and to have some example of the other countries where this process is more evolutive, and it will provide us it will make it easy for us to implement this kind of cooperation in our own countries. So it's very good.
Thank you. Russell, please. Please, Russell, if you want to go up and... I was going to ask you, but then I didn't know if you'd say yes, so I didn't.
You can see the elephant in the room, because it strikes me we need Module 7 for this. I'm sorry to tell you all this, but we need to do a bit more work. The elephant in the room is that the healthcare system in Europe is broken. And EUPATI right now is teaching everybody how to operate within the system as it is, which is essential. We have to learn how the system operates in order to know how to change it. But when we get to the end of this course, we need to go on further. As students on the EUPATI course, we have to find ways to change the healthcare system and to challenge it rather than just to work within it, because it isn't sustainable itself. So for EUPATI to be sustainable, we have to make healthcare sustainable.
Great. Can I ask you what, if there are specific things that you're considering that are most important that you want to see in a Module 7, so to speak?
Well,
Module 7 doesn't exist.
Yeah, how much time do you have? But it's too big a topic for here. But essentially, there are some fantastic people here, and I love coming to these gatherings. But if in 5 years' time I'm still coming to the same gatherings and nothing has changed, then I've wasted my time. It's a little bit too cozy, and even patients' organizations get a little bit too cozy as well. And I'm really worried that I'll become part of the system. And I'm here to change it, not to become part of it.
Thank you. Tomasz.
I want to partly respond to you. My name is Tomasz Beretsky. I'm from the European AIDS Treatment Group and member of the editorial group. So most of the content goes through us that you will receive. And I want to reassure you that in the September event, there will be a special part on advocacy. And advocacy in this case means how to change the system. So from sitting around tables and discussing stuff to organizing sit-ins in front of the European Parliament, we will cover everything, or try to cover everything. Being an expert patient is not just being cozy. It's also about being active. It's about compassion. It's about doing things. It's about activism. And we have all that tradition coming with us in patient organizations. And that's what we will try to convey to you in September.
Great. Thank you. Sharon, I don't know if you sort of made that little noise on purpose, if you wanted to agree with what Russell was saying about...
I forget about the microphones. Yeah, I'm quite vocal, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just wondered if you had anything to add for that. The coziness.
The coziness, yeah, I suppose, yeah, no, that does worry me. So I was agreeing with Russell, yeah. I don't know what else to say, Rob. I didn't know people could hear me.
I
Sorry.
could. Maybe no one else did, but I did. So for our final question, yes, please, Peter.
I can very much relate to what Russell said, you know, and I'm thinking about that too. And of course, this is partly also a question of your personality, how you want to achieve things, and maybe also in my case of an organization, and we're discussing that. And I think, of course, it's a thin line because between coziness, which might have like the potential to create partnerships between academia and industry. That's one thing we want. And like the other part that you mentioned, Russell, and as I said, of course it is a thin line, but for me, that's my personal opinion, it's not so clear yet how we achieve the best results. So I'm personally very open, you know, to explore different possibilities and to hear like from different organizations. Like I know like many HIV, AIDS activist groups in the 80s and 90s have achieved a lot. So I want to learn from that. But maybe the times have also changed. Maybe industry has, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I'm saying maybe. So it's really, this is something I think we also have to learn in that course, so we need to be able to discuss what are really good strategies and then we have to do it and see what the results are. And I agree, it cannot just be in 5 years that we're still here and discussing what would be possible. We have to achieve something. But one thing that I would like to mention that I forgot before, like one thing that I really appreciate about EUPATI, and I think maybe Russell doesn't like that because it's a little bit about coziness. I think it's really a great group, and one important thing that has to happen is that like patient groups are learning together that they can achieve more, and they have maybe to change the system also, as Russell says, but they need to collaborate, to cooperate in some way. And what I've seen in the past is like, I'm talking now about a national level, that there is among patient groups a lot, also sometimes a big lack of trust or distrust. And I think this is something patient groups also have to learn when I was talking about changing mindsets, that it is in the interest of patients and of patient groups in the long run, even if now we have like a change for one specific patient group and not in the interest maybe of just my patient group, and I think this is not always clear to patient groups. And so I think there is really also something needed that patient groups really understand that it is a common interest and a common good that we create, and that we have really to join forces there. That's my opinion, and that's something that I felt like was really possible also in the current EUPATI course training.
The other thing that Sharon made me think about, at one point you said something about rocking the boat and maybe not wanting to or not knowing how to. And I think one thing that actually I learned from Jan, a word that he uses a lot is disruptor. That is, he's very political and very center of the road, so to speak, here in EUPATI, but then when he goes to his cancer conferences and needs to get things done for cancer patients, he becomes a patient advocate and does sit-ins and everything, and he becomes a disruptor. And I really like that word, and he sort of found this balance, so to speak, of sometimes being you know, sort of a political smart person, and sometimes just saying, you know, enough is enough. And so I think that maybe that's one possibility that could work out here. But I just have one more question. But before I get to that, I did a quick. Sorry, please.
Can't hear you.
Try again.
Paul Carey. That's grand. Paul Carey, Move for Parkinson's. I've listened this morning to these brave people who have taken on this course, and I really have to admire them for it, because I know, having read the invitation to join, what was going to be involved. And it's a little bit sad to hear people might be disheartened or thinking they're getting cozy, because as a patient advocate, what we need is for you to come back enthused, show us what's going on, show us what we can do. Evelyn said earlier this is to do with the big picture, and it is at your level. But it must eventually percolate down to my level, which is an interest in Parkinson's patients. And if we can bring that down to that level, and I would fully endorse going and sitting on ministers' doorsteps, because what we need from you is to find a way to get a paradigm change in the way our ministers and our organisations think, in Dr. Love's approach to things. If we disagree with them, and I disagree with a lot that goes on because patients are not heard enough. So you people that are learning need to come back like the apostles and fill us with the enthusiasm to go out and fight the battle, because there is a long, hard battle for us to get people in authority to have a mind change. Thank you.
Before I get to the last question, I just want to shout out to a few people who have been tweeting quite a bit this morning. Right before we came up stage, I counted that Noreen and Filippo had done quite a few tweets by the beginning of our session. And Birgit and Jan also are doing quite a bit. Thank you very much from Germany. And then Victoria, Peter, who's up here now, so I don't know, I guess you're not tweeting now. And Tomasz also did quite a bit just before the 9 o'clock session. So thank you very much, and please continue to tweet during the day. The last question we have for our guest this morning is, now that you're halfway through, how do you see the road to the end, to the finish line, so to speak? Are you happy with the way it's going? Are you looking forward to the new modules, the new lessons you'll be learning? And just talk about how you see that moving forward. I guess, Dimitri, we'll start with you.
I have to say that I'm pretty happy with the pace, especially after the Barcelona meeting. I feel happier because I got a lot of motivation from my fellow trainees, because at the beginning, let's say, of just before the meeting, I was very tired of the course. But you got our batteries, I think, everybody recharged, and keep our head down and continue to study, which we didn't for the last days, sorry to say. So I expect the clinical trial module to be very important, because it's a lot of work that can be done either in preclinical, either in clinical level for patient organizations. And definitely the HTAs and the pricing and the adaptive pathways, it can be a life-changing event if we get involved seriously to that. So I'm looking forward, and I believe that in the meeting of September, we'll have more realistic examples of how we can change the environment and how we can support our partners in the local level from you. And that's basically how I view it.
Great, thank you. Sharon, what's your idea of how do you look at the final 6 months of the project? Are you looking forward to it? Are you scared that what you'll find, or?
No, I'm not scared. No, I would recommend people to do the course, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's great online, because you can do it at your own pace, and I know that the tutors are there, and you've got great backup if you need it. So I would recommend that people at least try and engage with it. So no, I'm really looking forward to the next bit, I suppose, mainly because we have a great EUPATI family. We had a great time in Barcelona. It took us quite a while to come down after meeting everyone. Everyone was on a bit of a high. I think a good one. It was very amazing to see how EUPATI had picked such a bunch of people, because I was feeling sorry for the hotel because we were also involved in asking for what we wanted. Everyone has a voice, and which everyone was using. One particular person nearly had a sit-in about a kettle, who shall remain nameless. So everyone had a voice. But one of the things that EUPATI has done is that they've brought us all together, and has shown us that there are lots happening for patients in Europe, which is very exciting. And I think we were all very excited to meet each other. And EUPATI EUPATI have also picked, although everyone was very outspoken in a nice way, everyone was very kind to each other. Patients are very patient. So I think it's very encouraging of what's happening, and I think it's a great course, and yes, I'm looking forward to finishing it, yeah.
Beautiful, great. Peter?
I'm also looking forward because I'm aware we're still lacking a lot of knowledge. I mean, there is some things we have to know, so I'm looking forward to the next modules and also to the next event, a face-to-face event. And I'm expecting a lot there because, like the last event, for me personally, I really must say, it was kind of my personal kickoff as part of a, let's say, Swiss delegate in EUPATI, because from that course I was, suddenly the ideas just came and they weren't coming, like the concrete ideas what to do in Switzerland and what we could achieve. This was not coming in like the e-learning platforms. This was something like more kind of personal, you're just sitting there by yourself. So I think it is very important to have those events and to talk to people. And, like I was just writing emails to my Swiss colleagues at home and I'm hoping I was not just annoying them, but also like giving helpful, ideas how to move on. And that's how I see my role, and that's what I also explained. So this is part of it. And then, what I'm also aware of is, I think it's a lot of information. It's very useful information, but it is loads of information. I mean, during the whole course, not just the face-to-face events. And so what I think, and I already have that need now, what I think is really needed also for the future is like really helpful resources that you can access after the course. Because I already know, there's this kind of ideal world, which you always have in a course, how it goes and how it works and everything, and it sounds so nice. And then there's the real world, and when I think back of my clinical trial experiences in those advocacy committees, then suddenly you have these questions, I think, how is this now going? How should we do that? And I think we really need resources on information resources, and I was happy to hear that there's this library thing that is going to be built up. I think it's very important also for EUPATI trainees. But besides that, I was thinking, after the course has ended, and there is this kind of, you called it the EUPATI family, this group that I was a part of, I think there should be forums where you can go into that, afterwards and say, I have this situation. How do you judge that? Because I think it's really still very challenging if you want to be really a critical partner, and that's what I'm again with Russell, if you want to be a critical partner and not just a partner that can be, easily achieved and you collaborate in everything. I think you sometimes need the backup of other patient representative, patient groups and say, look, that is what we're in and I have a weird feeling and how do you judge that? So I think this could be something of EUPATI to offer in the future and to ensure that there's a long-term sustainability and that something really moves on a national level and in concrete projects with a value for patients.
Great. Thanks a million. And finally, I would like to offer again to the other students in the room a chance to come up to the microphone and give us your feedback on what you're looking forward to for until the end of the course. We'll have another meeting in Barcelona, as was said. And if you have sort of specific desires or hopes for the final 6 months of the course. Again, please just come up to the microphone. Come on, one of you. Come on.
I'm also looking forward to go to the next the final 6 months of the training. And I just want to emphasize something that was already said here. It was about what is going to happen next. Because in my point of view, if you receive all this kind of training and all this kind of information, and we didn't succeed to put this in practice, it doesn't mean that the course was very interesting. So I think it's one of the things that we should debate on these final stages is how the structure of EUPATI, and because in EUPATI you have partners from the pharma companies and the European Commission, I think it's Commission. So we have to develop even among the trainees that we will be the future network of experts, ways to help each other and implementing these solutions to function in everybody's countries, because that's the main purpose.
Great, thank you very much. So I think we have to close here, but I did want to offer Niels a chance if you wanted to say anything about what everyone has said about the course and their thoughts on it and so forth, and you having been so involved in making the course, what's your take on all of this?
I mean, in brief, I can say that I joined the project at the very beginning, and for me, it was very abstract what we actually should achieve. And the first 2 years went with, coming up with a syllabus, describing learning outcomes, start to produce content. So for me, it has been very nice to put it into something tangible, that now we actually have trainees in the course. We have somebody who have been at the first face-to-face meeting. And for me, it's a kind of milestone, because now we get the first real type of feedback. And I'm well aware that everything is not absolutely tip-top, as we say in Danish, but I think there's still room for smaller adjustments. But that's the way when you build something up from the very beginning, from scratch, from all over. There will always be some fine-tuning later on. So I very much appreciate your positive attitude, and I think everybody involved in the project would go home now and do the fine-tuning and make sure that it will be implemented. So thank you.
And thank you all very much for the course and for being here. And now we're going to move on to the next session. Thank you.